All right, let's just get right into it. Most of us grow up hearing one single path: get a job, work for 40 years, and then maybe you can retire when you're older. But what if there's a better way? Today, we're going to break down a really practical, step by step plan to get to financial independence, even if you're starting from absolute zero.
And this quote, it just nails it, doesn't it? The real goal isn't just about stopping work. It's about getting to a place of true freedom, where you and only you get to decide how you spend your time every single day. Whether that's chilling on a beach or, starting your next big thing. That's the million-dollar question, right? It can feel totally impossible when you look at your bank account and there's nothing there. But stick with me, because we're about to lay out the exact blueprint to follow. Okay, first things first. Before you can start any journey, you have to know where you're going. I mean, it sounds obvious, but this first part is all about setting a super clear, tangible target for your financial life.
This analogy is just perfect. Seriously, imagine putting in all that work, running as hard as you can, but you're completely blindfolded. Without a clear finish line, you're just as likely to run straight into a wall as you are to win the race.
So this really breaks people down into three groups. You've got the drifters, who have zero financial goals and just live paycheck to paycheck. Then you have the dreamers. They have big goals, but no actual plan to get there. And finally, you have the doers. They've got the goals and a clear action plan. Our whole mission here is to make you a doer.
So how do you create that plan? Well, it all starts with one really powerful number. It's called the times 25 rule, and it's a super simple way to figure out your freedom figure. That's the exact amount of money you need to have invested to be financially free forever. Let's just walk through it real quick. Step 1, figure out how much money you'd want to live on per year. Let's just say for this example, it's $50,000. Step 2, you multiply that number by 25. That's it. The number you get is your target, your freedom figure. And there it is, $1.25 million. And I get it. Seeing a number that big can feel overwhelming, especially if you're starting from scratch. But hang on, nobody's saying this is going to be easy, but it is absolutely doable. The rest of this plan is going to show you how. All right, so you can't build a skyscraper on a shaky foundation, right? Same thing with your finances. Before we can build that massive wealth, we have to lay a rock-solid foundation. This next part is all about getting your financial house in order so it can actually support that growth. And this quote just perfectly captures the huge mistake so many people make. They try to jump straight to investing without a stable base. And get this, a shocking 40% of Americans who make over $100,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. That's what building on quicksand looks like. So, a solid foundation has 4 key pillars. You have to crush that high-interest debt, create a safety net with an emergency fund, build up a great credit score for later, and, of course, legally minimize what you're paying in taxes. Now, it's so important to get this. Not all debt is bad. Good debt can actually help you build wealth. Think of a mortgage on a rental property. But bad debt, that's the high-interest stuff like credit cards or those buy now, pay later schemes. That's a total wealth killer. And that's the stuff you have to attack first. And the single most effective way to do that is with the debt avalanche method. It's simple. You make the minimum payments on all your debts, but then you take every single extra penny you have and throw it at the debt with the highest interest rate. Once that one's gone, you roll that payment over to the next highest, creating this avalanche that just wipes out your debt way faster. And finally, let's talk about taxes. Look, you want to keep as much of your own money as possible. That means using tax-smart accounts. Things like a 401k, where you invest money before it gets taxed, or a Roth IRA, where your money grows completely tax-free. It's an absolutely essential strategy. Okay, so your foundation is solid. Now it's time to go on offense. This is the exciting part. This phase is all about building the engine that's going to actively grow your wealth and rocket you towards that freedom figure. This analogy is just brilliant for showing the problem most of us have. Relying on just one job, your 9 to 5, is like your entire life is balanced on one tiny little skittle. What happens if someone kicks that skittle away? Your entire financial world comes crashing down. So, the solution is pretty clear, right? You build a web of support. When you have multiple streams of income coming in from different places, you're secure. If one stream dries up, maybe a side hustle doesn't work out, it's okay. You have all these others holding you up. So, how do you actually build this web? It's really a 2-step process. First, you focus on active income. That means side hustles to bring in more cash right now. Then you take that extra money and you pour it into passive income streams. These are assets that work for you, making money even when you're sleeping. And where should that money go? Well, for most people, the stock market is the easiest starting point. You can use low-cost index funds to own a tiny piece of hundreds of companies. Real estate is a classic for a reason, right? And then maybe a small slice for something like crypto, which has huge growth potential, but, also higher risk. The key is to get your money working for you in different areas.
All right, we have the plan, we have the strategy. But before we wrap up, we got to have a little dose of reality. Because, knowing the path and actually walking the path, they are two very, very different things.
And this is just the honest-to-God truth. Getting to this kind of freedom, it takes some serious focus and hard work. It's about being willing to knuckle down for a few years to set yourself up for a lifetime of freedom. If it were easy, believe me, everyone would already be doing it. So here's the real bottom line. Your 9-to-5 job is a great starting point, but a side hustle, that's the accelerator pedal. It is the most powerful tool you have to generate that extra cash you need to kill your debt and start investing like crazy. It's what shortens the timeline to freedom. Ultimately, your success is going to boil down to these three things. The discipline to stick to the plan, even on the days you don't feel like it. The consistency to just show up day in and day out. And maybe most important, the mindset to see roadblocks not as disasters, but just as challenges you have to figure out on your way to the goal. So after all of this, there's really only one thing left to do, and that's to take action. This whole plan is worthless if you don't start. So look at the steps, figure out where you are right now, and decide on the very first real step you can take today. What's it going to be?